Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Jerry Springer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, it's good to be back here because we took a few weeks off, for the summer vacation.
Yes, we
I
did.
guess
It was sad.
In Britain, we call it holidays.
The holiday.
Yes.
Yes,
So anyway,
yes.
this past weekend, we go to the Whispering Beard Folk Festival.
Was wonderful.
So cool.
In
Friendship, Indiana.
Friendship, Indiana. a town-
Population.
61 people.
Yep.
I could run for mayor there.
Could, but should
No,
you?
61
But should you?
people. Should I? Okay, maybe not. But it was a great time. It was a great time.
It was really cool.
And people camped out there for the whole festival. It went
We did.
3 days.
I did. Megan did.
Yep.
Most people did. You were in a 5-star hotel in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and that's your
true.
choice.
Okay. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and a little
So-
chocolate.
As one
thing.
does.
So I had to leave the campgrounds. And then the limo took me back.
In the
But
meantime,
it
Gene
got
was
so
blowing
dusty.
up the mats we were sleeping on.
Yeah, I was. I was. It took
He was
about
getting
an hour.
winded.
Your tent was an embarrassment.
My tent is a backpacker's tent. My tent is stealthily light, and
It's
yeah,
a large handkerchief.
yeah.
That's what it was.
Sorta.
But
was a jean size.
Oh, it was great. Although on Saturday you left early.
I did have to leave early.
And why did you have to leave early?
Well, I left early because it was my wife's high school reunion. She graduated from a high school, 730 people, so a large high school, and I came back for that.
Well, that's
that was
cool.
very nice. And did you have a good time there?
I had
Did
a
anyone
horrible
know you? Well,
time.
you didn't go to that. You had a horrible time.
I had a horrible time.
Why did you have a
Why?
horrible time?
Well, the deal is,
It was about her, not about you.
Oh, I understand that, and it was about her, and she had a great time, by the way. But when I met my wife, I was a psycho boyfriend. I was a psycho boyfriend.
Were you, like, for real,
Oh,
you were?
my God, for real. I mean,
Jealous?
jealous, suspicious, accusing, insecure. I was pathetic. And
Charming
I thought,
qualities.
Oh, absolutely. And I
What-
thought, and
what
I
is
tried
the
to push
was?
all those down.
What's the was?
Well, that's what I thought. I thought that stuff had been dormant for so long that
Did you
it would
act up
never
again?
show its head again. Do you remember there was a guy, a writer, he still lives, Ian Tyson. He was in a group called Ian and Sylvia back
Yes.
in the
Oh, yeah.
60s, a
Yeah.
folk duo. And he wrote Four Strong Winds, a bunch of stuff. He's a very good writer, Canadian guy. And he wrote a song called Red Velvet. He's a cowboy from Canada. And the song, one verse said, I should have known I couldn't hold her living out so far from town.
Yeah.
So she was this good-looking woman, and he just knew that as the time wore on, this wasn't going to work.
And you figured
She
you
would-
didn't have a shot
no
with
shot,
Bonnie.
no
Yeah.
shot. And so I go to this reunion, and it all flooded back. She walked in. She was the coolest looking woman. I put her picture on
Beautiful
Facebook.
picture.
That's
Yeah, the
obnoxious.
dress was- yeah.
And she looked killer, I thought.
Yep.
I mean, this is like
Naturally
the
looked better
50th
than you.
reunion where there were more oxygen tanks in the room than on the space shuttle. I mean, this is so. And she walked in there looking good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking good.
And
these guys.
the old boyfriend?
Yeah, I didn't know these guys.
Oh.
And the ones, Jerry, that don't come over and talk to you. If they come over and strike up a conversation, oh, yeah, Bonnie was cool. I knew her in high school. And what do you do? Here's what I've done. Those guys
Right,
are
because you
okay.
didn't go to that high
I
school.
didn't go
So
to that
those
high
guys
school.
didn't know you. You
didn't
had
know
already
me.
graduated.
They didn't know me from a screen door. So the guys that didn't come over, and this is how psycho I am. I went to the photographer who was working the reunion. They had paid him, $100, whatever, to shoot pictures. I went over and gave him $20 and say, I want you to follow my wife around, and anybody she talks to, shoot a picture. And then email
did
those to
not.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it all came back.
Wow, Bonnie is a lucky lady.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
It's
all
pitiful.
these guys, and you felt kind of insecure there.
Pretty insecure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Pretty
not you-
insecure.
yeah.
I had,
So anyway, that's how Saturday night went. It didn't go very well. in my opinion.
I went to my wife's 50th reunion, and it was the same kind of thing. Her
Mm.
old boyfriend was there.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention his name, Gary Palmer, but
Well, see, from Cynthiana, Kentucky.
from Cynthiana, Kentucky.
Right.
And
That
we're
dress
sitting,
says
and just
Superior
we're sitting at there were about like 10 people at every table. He wasn't at that table. But
Gary
the whole-
Palmer from
was.
Cynthiana, Kentucky
Don't-
was at that table.
Oh my gosh, don't mention
know.
it. So anyway,
He's a great guy,
He's
brother.
a great guy, and he's sitting at another table, and the whole time there, and I'm kind of joking around and saying, "Oh boy, look at that guy. He looks tall. He's just what? He's nothing. Wait till I go over to him." I was getting all steamed, kind of joking.
Yeah,
And then,
Jerry
of
was
course,
going to hit him with his money bag, by the way. Megan.
It wouldn't be his fist.
Oh, I was going to go over there and say, "What time does your show start?" No.
What kind of plane do you have?
No, but then he comes over and he's literally just the nicest guy in the world. And I said to Mickey, "Why did you marry me?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, okay. We do the show here at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky, which, if you're not from this area, is right about at the Ohio River and right across the river, Cincinnati, Ohio. Yep. And for 30 years, I lived in Ohio, and you guys still live in this tri-state area, Ohio, Kentucky. Okay, so I just see the news 2 days ago that President Obama is changing the name of Mount McKinley back to its to Denali, which the name was before 1917. They named it after President McKinley.
In fact, I can tell you this because, as you know, Jerry, I just love the outdoors. I'm a backpacker, been that all my life. So I've been
with your baby tent.
in my baby tent, and I backpacked in Alaska. This is ridiculous, but I've been there 14 summers. Go up there. I love it. And a lot of that time, some of that time anyway, has been around that Denali area. So here's the quick history. It's real fast. Back in the forever it was called Denali by the local natives. Most people say it's the Athabascan tribe, and there's a little bit of dispute as to which, doesn't matter. But so the word Denali in that language means the high one. It's a 20,000 foot, 20,237 foot to be exact mountain. It's sublime. When you see it, if the clouds are gone, and I've seen it
And
many
it refers
times.
to the high one.
Refers
so
to the high one.
if the referendum passes in Ohio, where marijuana would be legal,
Call it the
you could have
Denali
a-
state.
We can now call
you
it
could,
Denali.
yeah, the Ohio would be the high one.
I never thought of that. I never thought of
That's
that.
why
That's
we
why you
should-
have a TV show. That's
Yes.
good.
That
That's
is quick
really
thinking,
good.
right
Ohio, the high one.
The high one.
Denali.
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 Come, never mind the Buckeye State. We're Denali.
I think Colorado beat us,
Exactly.
though.
Very good. That's good.
It's a whole routine.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But anyway, a Caucasian prospector goes up to Alaska long before it was a state. And he decides to pay tribute to his friend who just got nominated as a Republican candidate for president, William McKinley, who supported the gold standard, not the silver standard. So all of this was the backdrop politically to say, I'm going to call it, this guy who's a prospector, I'm going to call it McKinley. So there was no official word from anybody that now internationally it was going to be known as McKinley. In 1947, Congress actually then followed that to pay tribute to William McKinley. And here's a key point, who never stepped foot in Alaska.
He never was in
to the
Alaska.
day
He had
died.
nothing to do with Alaska.
And all those years, the locals have been saying, please return the name to Denali. And by the way, all the locals call it Denali. All the mountain climbers who climb it call it Denali. And
what did these Ohio politicians, the Republicans, to be fair,
well, Tim Ryan, though, careful, your friend
he
Tim
did it too?
Ryan, because
Okay.
he's afraid of voters in the Canton, Ohio area. And
oh,
so,
right, because McKinley was from there.
But it's
Canton,
Alaska.
Ohio.
It's not even Ohio. Why do they care?
Right.
Exactly. It's kind of like, where do we get off naming something in some other state, and particularly the sensitivity regarding Native Americans? Not only do we grab the land, and now we're going to start naming the things which they think it's important to them. It's their property. If we want to honor President McKinley, an Ohioan, find a place in Ohio.
Agree.
I'm willing to change the name of Springer Avenue
Fair enough.
There we go.
Fair enough.
in Hyde Park. I think it's 3 blocks long.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
I am prepared to say that Springer Avenue can
you
now
really have a
be.
street?
May I-
You do
may
have a
I,
street.
Jerry?
It's not named after me. It just happens to have my name.
All right.
It was named after Bob Avenue.
I'm gonna actually call.
I don't even get what that
It
means.
takes time. It's like the Lincoln
does.
Tunnel.
It
It
takes
wasn't
a
named
long time.
after Abraham Tunnel.
I'm gonna call your Springer Avenue and raise you. Would you be willing? This is a test of where your heart really is and whether you really mean what you just said. Would you be willing to change the name of your show to the William McKinley Show?
I would, but
What's the problem?
I would, but the McKinley family would sue me.
Yeah, I know.
We don't want anything to do with that.
No. Hey, by the way, you do know, we all know that it is a central position of the Conservative Party, the Republican Party, of states' rights. That's a motif to them. Constantly they're saying, let states decide. So this is so contradictory to that. This is where they want the muscle of the federal government to keep something, name something for a guy who never set foot in the place.
It's blatantly political. I mean,
and
it's
it's
just
because
absurd.
if
It's embarrassing.
they
Yeah.
don't like President Obama and he's the one that proposed it, therefore we have to be against it.
Yep.
And it's just outrageous. So anyway, and by the way, here's the final piece of this. The way this happened was there is a rule that says that the Board of Names, Geographic Names, the BGN or whatever it's called, has the power to name things under the federal government, except when there is action on it in Congress. So Ralph Regula, a Republican who held that seat where McKinley lived for many years, would go in and every session put a bill on the floor.
Yeah.
The Alaskans then would put a counter bill on the floor, and that locked it up. And the Secretary of the Department of Interior, I think her name is Sally Jewell, last name is Jewell for sure, said, hey, enough is enough. And the 1947 law says that when there is this stalemate for a number of years, I can go in and break it, and she broke it. And from here forward, it's called Denali, and we should applaud that. Now, let me ask you something, because I know the stuff you know amazes me, and you know about the 14th Amendment. And I
Yes.
wanted to ask you some questions about the 14th Amendment, and it's kind of, in a way, indirectly close to your heart, because you were born in England. You were not born in America. You are an American citizen. You shouldn't be so quick here. We've been friends for a long time, but I do have to say, I have never seen, and maybe I am asking to see it, and I'd like the long form birth certificate, because I know the story was you were born on a bathroom floor in a subway stop in England during World War II.
Yeah, it
True
wasn't,
or not?
It wasn't the bathroom, but it was at the train station.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because those were the bomb shelters, the tunnel.
And tell us, never asked this, and God, it's surprising. Are you an American citizen? Let me just first of all ask you straight up.
I am today announcing my candidacy for the presidency of the United States.
Now that would be unbelievable.
Thank you. I'll tell you. You bring up what is that? Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5, and here's the American
Oh, for
flag.
the love
Thank
of
you.
God.
Thank you.
You can't see this, but Jerry has now been draped in
In the
the American
American
I
flag.
love this flag. I have told people every chance I get, America is one of my 3 favorite countries, flat out.
It's a controversial
It always
stance
has
to
been.
have.
It is. No, yeah, I am an American citizen. Well, 2 days ago, Kanye West announces for president.
Yes.
Then you got
Well, in 2020.
In 2020.
in 2020, and then you got Donald Trump, and how a guy, just because he's rich and has a television show, thinks he can run for president.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, so I'm thinking, and Trump is willing to do away with the 14th Amendment.
Which does what?
Well, the
is
14th Amendment
protects
says
people.
very clearly, if you're born in America, you're an American citizen. End of subject. There's no interpretation of that. That's what it says. And now, with his xenophobia and his racist views against Mexicans and immigrants, and just horrible views. Horrible. I don't know if he really believes it, but it's dangerous what he's saying, because there's some wackos in this country that are picking that up. And I should tell you, this last weekend, the white supremacist councils in America endorsed Trump. I mean, that's what's going on. You know, we all kind of laugh at the Trump thing because, he's just a showman and, it'll go away. Well, number one, even if it does eventually go away, it's dangerous when people that have that kind of a microphone, that kind of a bullhorn, spout this stuff. that there are enough people in this country that are looking for any excuse to be able to say that publicly. He gives them cover because now some of the awful racial things that we hear said about Mexican people and, coming to America and let's deport 11 million of them and all that kind of garbage, when we hear that, even though people haven't been saying it publicly, they say it in the privacy of their homes, which is awful. Now you got a guy running for president, so all of a sudden it's okay to say it. And more people sign up. And on the internet, there are all kinds of websites where you can go and say, yeah, we got to stop this. We got to stop this. We are going to live with the consequence of this xenophobia, of this racism, of this division in America. Take a look at the Middle East. You know what happens when everyone starts becoming tribal? And that is what is going to happen in America. He wears this hat. By the way, he wears the hat so then when he's walking around, the hair doesn't blow in the wind. I mean, really, otherwise he'd just have a sign. He puts the cap on so when he steps off the plane at the airport, it doesn't look silly in pictures. That's the truth. That's why he has, okay, let's make America great again. But those views are exactly against what would make America. America is a multicultural society. We are the experiment on the planet Earth that you can have different religions, different cultures, different ethnic groups, and in a democracy you can still live together. Because the only other societies where that happens is when you have a dictator. And as long as the dictator's in, there's peace. As soon as we topple the dictators in the Middle East, then all these ethnic groups start going their own way. Same thing happened in Yugoslavia. Communism fell, and all of a sudden, Yugoslavia broke up into those republics again. And that is what's going to happen in America if we can't live as a society and respect each other's differences, each other's cultures, each other's races, get along, and not try to divide us. And Trump is smart. He's really smart. And he's figured out a path to the nomination. And the path to the nomination, which is scary, is he is getting the pissed off vote. Yep. He is going after groups of people that are just angry. Some of them, I'm not talking about the race issue, I'm talking about other issues too. People are angry. They're angry because they don't see the government working. They're angry because they can't find a job. They're angry because jobs are going overseas. And by the way, Trump is so smart that this week he comes out and says, which some parts we like, he says corporations that build factories and send their jobs overseas, they're going to have to pay a higher tax. So all of a sudden, this guy's genius. So he's not just doing Republican orthodoxy. He's figuring political parties are in trouble. I'll just find a group of I'll form, not a party, because he'll probably still run as a Republican, but I am going to form a movement of everyone that is pissed off in America for whatever reason. And that's why you see these all different groups showing up at his rallies. It's dangerous. And I'm telling you, he could win the nomination. I know this is 3-4 weeks ago, I was going along with everyone else and said, oh, this is just the summer joke. It's not a summer joke. He's on top on every poll, and he's on top for now 3 months in a row. It's not going to go away. He has all the money in the world to keep the campaign going.
I completely agree, and I'm like you a few weeks ago said, no, he'll fall, and we were both saying, well, he'll be nobody's second choice. But now I think that the Republicans who want to win, if he stays out in front, they'll move to him as well, hold their nose if they have to. But I fear, I don't know that I fear it, because I don't know that I fear it, as I happen to be a Democrat, and I think still in a general election he'll have real trouble. And by the way, look what he does. Tariffs, that's not a Republican idea. The Republicans are free trade people. Or raising taxes on hedge funders, that's not a Republican position.
But what if you're a legit Republican candidate? What if you are, a Jeb Bush? What if you're one of these? I would be so pissed. I would be so angry.
Jeb Bush
this guy's
today,
in
a 1.5-minute commercial, really went after Trump, showing that Trump is really a Democrat or whatever. And I'm a diehard Democrat.
Really?
But it's beyond. But he can't be a Democrat because of his views on,
women,
those women. Oh yeah. But that's the point. He's of no particular political philosophy. He's just picking up on people's anger. Mm-hmm. And the reason I am afraid is I think in the end he won't be the president. for something that we're not even thinking about. There could be some international event that by the time election day comes, that all of a sudden you go to the polls and you realize you really can't have this guy's temperament with his finger on the button. So I think in the end, it won't happen. Even if he gets the nomination, he won't be the president. But I am fearful in any event because in the meantime, he's bringing up a generation of people now that even in my own, Cincinnati, Ohio, there's a white supremacist group. What's the guy's name? Matthew Heimbach, who's has this white supremacist group, and there are a few others in Ohio too, and they're endorsing Trump.
Yeah.
They're saying this is great. There's someone who speaks our language, and this starts building up. He wants to make America great again. How about just making sure we have America?
Right.
Yeah.
And understand that America is above all an idea. And if you destroy the idea, we're nothing but a piece of earth.
Yep.
Do you think, Jerry,
Well put,
do you
Jerry.
think that maybe the way to stop this, the blockage at the coming through the canyon, could be a Jerry Springer candidacy? Is that what you're thinking? That if you ran, because here's how I'm looking at it. You said those words, and at first I thought, well, that's freaking ridiculous, Jerry Springer for president. It's outrageous. It's insane. But then I start to think that I came here on the Ludlow City bus, so I obviously don't have a day job. And I was thinking maybe if you ran, maybe you turn to your old friend Gene, and I'm like the campaign manager.
So
And
after thinking about the issues, you've decided that I should run so you could have a job.
that is what I was thinking, right. And then I look over at my friend Megan Hills, who sits on your left, and I know that she recently got a wonderful job as an HR manager with a company we're not going to name, so that hopefully they
keep
won't.
that job?
Yes.
Yeah, they won't make her leave this podcast. And I was thinking, if Megan became the HR director or the HR manager,
The HR manager of the Jerry Springer presidential campaign.
that's
Can
what
you
I was
even
saying.
imagine the depths.
and Megan, here's
an HR director of anything involving me
Oh,
would be
yeah.
a full-time job.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
What first passed through my head, Megan, was how many personal leave days I could get. Because I
How much
was
PTO
thinking,
are we talking here, Jerry?
I was thinking 25. And by the way, Megan, I see you're laughing because it's ridiculous. I don't really want 25. I really want 17, but I'm
things work
saying
out,
25
maybe
to
you
try
could-
to get to
With your
17
mad negotiation
for a
skills.
6-month period. Because his campaign, trust me, his campaign's not going to make it to the end.
6
So I was thinking for that.
Wait a second. If you can do away with the 14th Amendment, you can do away with Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5.
Well, you
which
know
says-
your stuff.
Yeah,
I looked
That's
this
the
up.
stuff.
I look when as soon as
And
I,
what does that Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 say? Let's really test you.
In order to be president of the United States, you have to be 35 years of age. You have to have been living here for 14 years. I've got proof of that. My show's been on for 25
There you
years.
go.
Okay. And you have to be a natural-born citizen. Well, first of all, I'm a citizen.
You are a
And
citizen.
how else was I born? It was a natural birth.
Well, that's not what they mean.
I mean, what do you...
Again, a subway
Well, just-
floor in a
just because
bathroom
it's a
in
subway
London
doesn't-
is not a natural way to be born. Trust
And
me.
during World War II, England was on the same side as America.
Well, that is
We're
true.
teammates.
That is true.
Now you're going to toss me to the wind? Okay.
Well-
and even if that clause says I can't be right now,
Yes.
if you can disregard the 14th Amendment, why can't you disregard Article 2, Section 1,
Clause 5. Well, that all may be true, but I'm afraid we can't disregard the Jerry Springer Show.
Also, yes.
We can't disregard that.
Those are Americans too.
You know what I just realized, though? I just turned 35 and I was born here. I can run for president.
Good Lord.
Hey, maybe
Yes.
she's your stalking horse.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could stalk for Hillary.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, well, it's a grand idea, but it looks like I'm just not thinking it's gonna. I'm not feeling
Sorry,
it, as they
Jerry.
say. So, hey, let's talk about some music and hear some
Yes.
music. And we have with us tonight my brother, the Bear, which is not really his name. But please introduce yourself and your music and where we can hear you, and then want to hear a couple songs. But tell us a little bit about yourself first of all.
My real name's Dan Bear, and I grew up here in Cincinnati. I live in Decatur, Alabama now. I've been playing music since I was a little kid. Grew up in in a music-based family over on the west side of Cincinnati. It's great to be here with you, Jerry, and you guys are a blast. I'm having so much fun so far.
Wow, we appreciate that. What's the first song you're going to do?
This first song is...
I'm sorry, did your parents vote for me?
I remember you being mayor, and I can't remember much of anything else. I don't know if they voted for you.
Not because you
or
were drinking, you were young.
Yeah.
And you weren't Denali either, were
It
you?
wasn't Denali yet.
No, okay.
Well, growing up in Cincinnati, I'm a huge baseball fan, and this first song is called Dead Ball. And I just love the history of baseball, and it's been around for so long that there's so many great stories that people might not necessarily know. And this is a song about a player from the Cleveland Indians named Ray Chapman, who is the only Major League Baseball player to ever be killed by a pitch.
Yeah, by Mays, right?
Carl Mays, yep.
Carl Mays.
Wow, hence the name Dead Ball,
Dead
and this
Ball.
is Dan Bear, my brother the Bear.
Ray Chapman was born by a Kentucky dam to a bluegrass lady and an Illinois man. And he worked in the fields and he worked in the mines till the day he discovered he could work with the pine. So he ran real fast and he ran real hard, and he ran to Ohio to be a baseball star. Well, give him hell, boy, give him everything you got. Dig them spikes in and make them show you their best shot. Don't you hold on to all the things you should save. When that dead ball comes, you can take them to your grave. He was 29 when he killed that man, born the son of a preacher and the bane of the fans. The New York Times, they wrote about his cares and woes, and said that Mays tossed the pill from the bottom of his toes. But he threw real fast and he threw real hard, and he gave up all his friends to be a baseball star. Well, give him hell, boy, give him everything you got. Dig them spikes in and make them show you their best shot. Don't you hold on to all the things you should save. When that dead ball comes, you can take them to your grave. It was wet and gray on that August day when Mays took the mound and Chapman stepped up to the plate. The babe said all he heard was a mighty sound, and Chapman fell like a stone to the polo grounds. Well, give 'em hell, boys, give 'em everything you got. Dig them spikes in and make 'em show you their best shot. Don't you hold on to all the things you should say. When that dead ball comes, you can take them to your grave. When that dead ball comes, you can take them to your grave.
That's Dan Bear, who performs under the name My Brother the Bear. That's an interesting song.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just interesting. The topic and...
There's a really
paints a
good
picture.
book. Excuse me. There's a really good book by Mike Sowell, is his name. It's called The Pitch That Killed, and it talks about the whole season, how there was kind of a perfect storm around the whole event because it happened in 1920, and it was the year right after the White Sox
the White
had-
Sox scandal,
had-
Black Sox scandal.
Yeah. So baseball already kind of had a black eye, and that team was already still under investigation for all that. And there was a big pennant race going on between the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago White Sox. And it was also the year that Babe Ruth had gotten traded to the Yankees, so he was playing for the New York Yankees for the first year. He ended up hitting 30-something home runs that year. So there was like a lot of stuff that was going on in the season. Ray Chapman was actually going to retire that 1919 season. He wasn't even going to play in 1920, but he was really good friends with Tris Speaker, who was the player manager for the Cleveland Indians, and convinced him to show up. So there was a lot of stuff that was happening, and the book is really great. It's called A Pitch That Killed, and it kind of describes both sides of the story, Carl Mays' story and Ray Chapman's story. You know, Carl Mays was kind of a Ty Cobb character. A lot of people didn't like him, and Ray Chapman was like the sweetheart of baseball. So it's a really interesting story.
And what's neat about listening to you play that, it's a reminder of this music, which is really storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's it.
you know, and that is how stories were told for years.
and that's what I meant when I said it's so interesting, because the topic, I agree 100%. It's a
People
story.
tell story about things that were going on in the world, their lives. I mean, that
Yeah, good
it wasn't
work.
always
And
political.
you took that story from a book and you made it's beautiful, beautiful story.
Thank you.
Do you have a CD out by any chance? And
Yeah, I have
tell
a
us about
couple. Excuse me. I just released a brand new CD. It's called The Long Lessons, and you can get it from my website at mybrotherthebear.com. I went to the Whispering Beard Folk Festival this weekend and sold all out of my hard copies.
for you.
Oh, what a shame.
it. Good for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, we pride ourselves at the Jerry Springer podcast, Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, bringing forward up-and-coming people who are writers and performers like yourself.
Thank you. Yeah,
so
it's
you're
an honor
one
to be
more
here.
example of somebody that we are so glad to have on for people to hear, because the quality not only of your writing but of your performing is outstanding.
Yeah.
So good
Thanks
work.
so much.
Do you-
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dan, would you have one more song
Sure,
you'd be willing
yeah.
to do? And if so,
I travel around a lot, and nobody's really ever heard of me, which is fine. I like to meet people and get around and kind of find a common string. You know, there's something that all of us as people, we all share, whether it be pain or love or joy or whatever. So finding a commonality with the people that I meet is kind of the most exciting part of what I do. And this is a song about not letting a broken heart kind of get you down. It's called Hearts of Stone.
Up on the rooftops, they're waving their arms to people at the bus stops, asleep in their cars. They're the ghosts of the promises never made good. And they're waving to me and they're waving at you. They say, Mister, oh Mister, please don't wait too long. Hey man, don't you realize you've got this all wrong? This old life's for the living while you're stuck in your head. But sooner or later we all end up dead. So don't spend all your time alone, fashioning hearts out of stone. 'Cause the next one you love could be someone to carry you home. Down in the gutter, we're licking at your wounds. The whole world's gone dizzy from revolving round you. I ain't saying that it's pretty. In fact, the deal's raw as hell. But don't get buried by your trouble. Don't go drowning in that well, and don't spend all your time alone, fashioning hearts out of stone. 'Cause the next one you love could be someone to carry you home. Put down those paper hats and shake off the blues, and kick off the dust from those old dancing shoes. 'Cause somebody's waiting for you. Out in the city, there's people for miles, and they're well equipped with paperbacks, spare change and smiles. All they want is some contact, a little give and take. All they need is the reason for that look on your face. So don't spend all your time alone, 'cause fashioning hearts have stone. 'Cause the next one you love could be someone to carry you home. The next one you love could be someone to carry you home.
That's my brother, the Bear, Dan Bear. That's completely different than the other one, and very cool. And
Thank
people, again, can get your music at
mybrotherthebear.com. I'm also on iTunes and Amazon and all that if they like to buy it off of there. Yeah, and it's got my tour dates and all that stuff. So if I'm coming near where you are, come out and say hi.
Great. Thanks for sharing your music
Thanks
with
for
us tonight.
having
Can
me.
you take us out on Irene Goodnight? And
Sure.
if you can,
Absolutely.
Jerry Springer from the William McKinley television show will join in on a verse, right? Mr. Springer, or is it Mr. McKinley?
Yeah, Miss McKinley. will do.
Mr. McKinley.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. I hope this isn't a career ender for you, but go ahead.
Last Saturday night I got married, and me and my wife settled down. And now me and my wife have parted. I'm gonna take a little stroll downtown.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.
Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dream.
Sometimes I live in the country. Sometimes I live in town.
You tell him, William.
Sometimes I have a great notion to jump in the river and drown.
Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good
Announcing today my candidacy
Good
for
night.
the presidency of the United States, because I think we can do better here at home and abroad.
Well, I asked your father for you, and he said that you was too young. Now I wish I'd never seen your face, and I'm sorry you was ever born. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dream. Well, you said that you would never love another, but now it's plain to see that if you're Valentine I cannot be, I'm gonna hang from your Christmas tree.